I'd like to just back you up to the brown form for just a minute. The side that is intended for the students. It isn't good enough that you just sign your name. You actually have to read it so you know what you're signing. Students, you're signing that you're staying in a group of 3 people as you travel around and spend time in the different parks. You're staying with a group of 3 people. There will never be a guy in a girl's room nor a girl in a guy's room at any point, at any time during the trip, and you're signing to that effect. Your attendance is mandatory at every meeting that we do every single night. You're signing for that, and you're always going to be early so that 285 people are not waiting for you to buy one last souvenir in some souvenir store. So you're going to know those times, you're going to be back on time so that everybody else can enjoy the rest of the trip as you are getting to do. And you all need to understand, as of this morning, it was $512 to fly one person one way home from Disney should there be a serious infringement of the conduct policy. If you have to fly back, a chaperone must fly with you. That means you or your parents are spending over $1,000 to bring you home early because you couldn't follow the rules that you signed that you said you were going to do. So you just have to understand what you're signing and the ramifications if you would choose to make decisions outside of that. Parents, you need to understand that as well. That's a good chunk of change on top of what you've already paid for the trip or helped your son or daughter with for the trip. So please know what's expected and what would happen or could happen on the back end of that, okay?
Just to highlight a couple other things on the back of that brown sheet. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and actually we'll cover the luggage here in just a second. We do search all luggage, including the people meeting us in Florida. We'll do that when we're down there. Want to make sure we mention the school dress code is in effect down there all the time. You know, it's hopefully going to be warmer weather, but the school dress code is still in effect. It really needs to be quiet in the hotel at night. We hire the private security guards to monitor the hallways, and they report any problems, you know, immediately to us if they need to, or the next morning if they have to. And just kind of another thing that we want to mention, you know, being late or not following the rules sometimes requires that you're with one of the chaperones the whole day or half the day, or you're sitting in a hotel room not doing what you want to do. So just make sure that it's for everybody's best interest with 280 people plus traveling. We expect those things.
The first question asked of me was, how big of a suitcase can I have? So the size of the suitcase is less important than the weight. Maximum weight limit of 50 pounds, and don't bring a coffin. Let's bring a suitcase, no more than 50 pounds. Generally, when our female chaperones search the female luggage, everything is put in there in unbelievable, impeccable order. Rolled and tight and clean and notched and in colored order. And 8 swimming suits. And we're only there 5 days, so, think about that. Then you open a gentleman's suitcase. You got a pair of shorts, some flip-flops, and a 12-pack of Mountain Dew. That's what you got. So, we do search every single bag and luggage, and just want to make you aware of that. So please know what you're signing. That's the bottom line. Thanks.
Moving on to the packing instructions. All of this is on the white sheet of paper in your packet, so I'm not going to read through that all with you, but I just want to highlight a few things. We talked with our band students on Friday, and we'll remind them again before we leave, but flutes, clarinets, oboes, and trumpets are going to go with the students on the flights. All of the other instruments are going to get checked like they would a piece of luggage. So we'll collect everything else on Thursday when we check in luggage, larger instruments, but the small instruments are going to come with you to the airport. Please make sure you put your name, address, phone. Everything has a baggage tag and everything is labeled. Please do that for your own protection. I also want to make sure we just, kind of remind you to plan ahead pretty carefully for the first day. It might be cold here in the morning, and you're going to have a carry-on bag, and you're going to get down there, and hopefully it's going to be warm, and you might want different clothes. It could be cool at night. And the first night we're not out real late, so that's a good thing, but just plan ahead for the first day. And we'll talk more with our students in class as we get closer to that. They will be able to keep their carry-on bags. They won't have to carry it around the park the whole first day. They'll be able to keep it on the bus secure throughout the day on the first day. And then just a reminder, like Mr. Sands will probably remind you guys, but all the ambassadors people, just make sure you planned ahead and packed carefully for what you need for the performance. I'm sorry, I just skipped one, but the carry-on versus the checked luggage, if you've never flown before, just want to make sure you understand the back side of that page talks about your carry-on luggage. The biggest thing is, anything sharp, anything that could be considered a weapon, and anything liquid. You can't even bring a bottle of water that's more than 3 ounces. Mouthwash, shampoo, valve oil, believe it or not. So I don't think those bottles are bigger than 3 ounces, but you know what I'm saying. So just make sure you check that carefully. If there's anything that you need down there, you can send it in your checked luggage, and that's fine, but not your carry-on luggage.
And I would just remind our flute, clarinet, oboe, and trumpet players, bringing that on the plane with you does not count against your carry-on. You still get a carry-on bag like everyone else. You're just doing us a favor by bringing that on the plane and not checking it underneath on the hold of the plane.
All right, next is a little bit of information about the flight. So look at that page, please. It's white. Know what flight group you're in. Again, parents, please drop your kids off at the curb at the airport rather than park to see them off.
We don't want to see you guys in your pajamas anyway at 3 o'clock in the morning.
If you're in flight group 1, we're meeting at 3 and flying out at 4. And again, we're checking in through Allegiant and Frontier desks. Okay, and you'll get a boarding pass, just like we're flying commercially. You need an ID for that check-in process. If you're 18, it's really helpful if it's a driver's license. So if you're 18 and you don't have a driver's license, let me know and I'll figure out what it is that you need to do. Anyone under 18, a driver's license of course works, but otherwise bring your school ID. Okay?
Great suggestion by Mr. Anderson. Do check your expiration date on your driver's license in case it expires right before or while we're down there. You might want to take care of that before the trip.
Sometime in the next week, all students are going to be receiving an email with a link to a Google Doc, like a form that you're going to fill out. And this is for the flight manifest. It'll double check it's kind of like what we did, students in class. You'll double check your full name, first name, middle name, everything the way it is on your ID. You'll make sure it's entered correctly with spelling. They also ask for your date of birth and your weight. So those pieces of information, we're just going to send it out to all the students. You can just complete the form that way so that it goes right into a spreadsheet.
You won't have to check luggage because you will have done that through us the day before. But then you'll have to go through security with your carry-on, and then you'll need your ID again at that point. All right? Once we're on the plane, you will be assigned a seat, and you'll sit in that seat until everybody gets on the plane, and then you'll be able to move about. So if you want to sit by your friends and you don't necessarily get assigned to a seat that is right by your friends, you will have the opportunity to do that. But for security reasons, you do have to sit in your assigned seat. Yes, you do get a boarding pass.
At this time, I want to thank Mr. Jimerson for putting together the flight groups. They are done by chaperone parents, so the 4 students staying in rooms together with their chaperone are all on the flights together so that we have all of that happening. And we do have some double families. We've got 2 children from one family traveling, and they may not be assigned on the same plane, and that would be the reason why. They're assigned by their bus groups. So we're going to ask that it stay that way so they can remain with their chaperone group and the roommates that they signed to go with. So we're going to do it that way, even though the flights are just an hour apart from each other. Maybe you can drop both of them off at the earliest time. That would be our suggestion. But we apologize if they're not traveling together, but it's easiest for us if we stay by chaperone groups.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I thought we were doing something else in between. So Mr. Ronnie just covered that first bullet up there, but that in your packet you've got rooming assignments, and we did those with students where they turned in cards, and 98% of the students were with the group of 4 that they requested, so that wasn't really a big deal. But I do want to just point out again on the bus list too, that the buses have been divided up by chaperone groups, so it's easier to take attendance and get things distributed, the tickets and the vouchers that we hand out every day. The only 2 groups that are split up from their chaperone are Mr. Anderson and Mr. DeBoer's groups, but the room stayed together, so it's still like all 4 kids in that room, you're getting on that bus. So, the bottom line for parents and students is you're with those friends pretty much as you want to be. And you're not, in a room with four strangers, and you're on a bus, you're on a flight, hopefully you're with the group that you requested to be with all the time, as much as you want to be. The only exception, and we talked about this earlier with the chaperones, the day we do our workshops at Epcot, that might be a day where you might actually need to find a new friend, because the person you walk around with in your group of 3 might have a workshop at 1:30, but yours is at 9 o'clock. So that's just one day that might be a little bit different.